Now, when we're going on these trips, and I've been talking about driving trips and talking about not just working, but actually the logistics of getting into a vehicle and going for 12, 15, 18 hours or more over a couple of days. And one thing that I've noticed is that, of course, this is where vehicle space actually can become important, especially if you're like me and my family, where we have our work, we have our hobbies, and we have our living necessities. What we end up finding is the three of us will completely, and I mean completely packed, 2018 or 2023 Subaru Outback. So that's potentially, if you've got three people and multiple of you are coming to do work and you're coming to do hobbies, as well as bringing everything you need with you in terms of clothing and such, that might be a minimum that you find. If you haven't done one of these trips ever or in a long time, I cannot recommend trying to do them in, like a small Honda Fit or something like that with more than one person anyway. It's just going to be impractical with the amount of stuff that you're going to end up kind of needing to take with you. But when you're driving in the vehicle, a couple things. If you own the vehicle, which I'm leaning towards suggesting, if you're going to do this a lot. If you're going to go once every 5 years, rent something large, obviously that makes sense. But if you're going on multiple trips a year like we've been doing, it adds at least $1,000 in a lot of cases to the trip. And honestly, that's kind of a lot, especially when you consider that you can pick up used vehicles, again, with the amount of trips we're doing, maybe 2 years of trips would come close to, at rental costs and hassle, come close to paying for another used vehicle just for that. And, that'd be maybe 15 trips across two or 3 years, which is surprisingly easy to do, it turns out. A lot of people are also already going to have some kind of crossover or SUV or minivan or large sedan. One of the things that we did with the Outback is we got a hidden hitch installed, but you could also just get a hitch from like U-Haul or whatever. And you can put like a basket just into that and it'll give you more storage space for stuff. You can basically strap like the Sam's Club or big plastic bin with some ratchet straps and, add, half again for each bucket you stack up. About half again the storage space in the vehicle. That's a cheaper method than just getting like a absolutely larger vehicle. Many of the SUVs and crossovers and things will have roof racks. We have roof racks on the Outback that come with it, but they're really only rated for about 150 pounds, which is kind of disappointing. That does really limit what you can put on the roof. And in my opinion, after looking into it a lot, that kind of stuff is probably more useful for like if you've got a full-size sheet of plywood or a Christmas tree or something that you're just going to strap on top of the car for a little bit. But like the Thule like roof-mounted pods or whatever you call them, I don't think they work out to be that practical because they're actually kind of not very high for all sorts of reasons. And so it's long and flat. It's iffy what you're going to fit in there in a lot of cases, but it's also causes issues with wind noise when you're driving the vehicle. It impacts your gas mileage worse than the basket and back does because that's just in a draft area with the way the wind goes over vehicles. And it's hard to get to for a lot of people. Now, my sister, my brother-in-law, like they can jump up and almost get on top of the car if they need to. And that won't be a problem for them. But for people like my mother or people like me who's kind of lazy, it can be kind of hard to get to stuff that's on the roof. So the ratchet strap basket, anybody, it's like if you can get to the trunk, you can get to that. So I would go that way. That's the way we've gone. Something to think about is the vehicle. Other thing to think about, sometimes after a long drive, the seats get less comfortable. My sister has gone with a number of different kinds of back pillows, seat cushions, neck pillows, all these things. Like, how are you going to sleep while the car is still driving? What do you need if you have back pain? And if just your butt is starting to hurt, like, can you get an extra cushion? And these are all things that I think plan ahead. Go on like Temu, for instance, and pick up some inexpensive seat cushions. Try those out. Inexpensive, car pillows and things. Because as we've found out occasionally when we've been a flying trip somewhere, just getting like a net pillow at an airport is 4 times what it would cost if you ordered it in advance. So especially if you're driving, try and get your pillows like in advance. Order those things. You'll save a lot of money. Now for us, as you can see, I'm doing videos here. I talked about photography, so I generally have between 1 and 2 backpacks of photography gear. Included in there is going to be the camera, some lenses, extra batteries, tripod. In the work stuff, I'm going to have a backpack usually for work that's going to have a laptop and like a headset that is important, in my opinion, to get good audio quality and also not annoy anybody else who's around you when you're in like Zoom meetings. You're going to have your laptop charger. You're going to have a power brick or 2. And then I tend to consolidate things. So in this work bag, I'll also put in any medicines that I might need, tissues to have on hand on the road or in the hotels or whatever. And then, you're talking about clothing for some period of time. For us, it's usually a minimum of a week. It can be 3 weeks. It really kind of depends on the trip and how crazy we're getting at that time. We have some tricks and tips coming up to alleviate some of needing to bring, 3 weeks worth of clothing if you even own that much clothing. And really, the trick that I guess exists if you're going to hotels and things is finding a laundromat. I know I once looked into, paying a hotel to do it, and this was in like 2013, and it was literally cheaper to go to Walmart and buy like a couple extra shirts and pants or something than to pay the hotel to wash things. So if you're willing to lose half a day of your trip and sit in a laundromat, I guess that's a way you can not need to bring so much clothes with you. Another thing to keep in mind is, at least as far as I found, both for health reasons and just for money reasons, buying drinks while you're driving along is pretty expensive. Even though you go to McDonald's and the value meal includes a drink, it's almost always cheaper to get just the burger and the fries. And if you're going to be really good, which we never are, you can say, I'm just going to get the burger, or I'm just going to get the salad, or I'm just going to get something and not also have the fries. That's healthier for you, but we're not good at that. Get a thermos style container, I guess, because it's very vague because of all the kinds there are now. There are traditional thermoses, there are Contigo mugs, there are things like Zojiro thermoses, there are things that I don't even know if they have a name, but they're kind of like Yeti is the brand name, but you can get an off-brand one for $50, $40. On Amazon, I have one, it's 87 ounces. It's absolutely massive. But you put ice in that, you put water in that, you have ice water, and it's perfect for 10 hours down the road if you don't drink all of it. And it's enough that it's usually pretty good for most of a day of traveling, so you don't necessarily have to stop and refill it that much. But the other thing that's kind of good, at least if you're traveling around like the United States, is you can often get ice and water for free. So, you go to a fast food place and they usually will give you ice and water for free, just fill up your thing. But many gas stations and things will have drinking fountains. So you can basically cut a lot of the budget that you were spending on, getting Sprites on the road or something just by drinking water. And according to every doctor I've talked to, it's better for you than drinking Sprite. Another thing to do, which I'm sure everybody knows, but maybe not, is bring a bag of snacks. What we tend to do is have some of the granola bar kind of things, maybe some. If you have any special diet issues, which is going to come up more and more in our videos, unfortunately, some of my family members have over time found themselves needing more and more special diets. And it is something that I feel like the travel and the hospitality industries are very slow to pick up on. There are some things where you can get oat milk or almond milk a lot now in many coffee shops and things, but other things like gluten-free or dairy-free or low salt or low potassium, those kind of diets, you can't just go to a chain restaurant. You can't probably just go to a local restaurant. Like, finding a place where you can get a meal that's not going to have some things that are at best not good for you can be very difficult. So bring food with you. The upside is it's a lot cheaper to eat some granola bars or a prepared snack that you brought with you on your trip than going to Applebee's or something on the way, because that's going to be at least $50, $60 for 2 people, $80 for 3, and it just goes up from there. And so you're cutting out some of those meals along the way. Again, that makes it a lot easier to do these trips because you're not almost wasting money, right? Because when you're traveling, yeah, some of that is getting to try different foods, different restaurants and things. But for the, you're in the car and you're going for 10 hours today, stopping at Applebee's 300 miles from home, or Applebee's in your local Applebee's that's 20 minutes from home, there's no difference, right? Like, you're not getting a better experience here. You're just getting probably too many calories, stuff that's bad for you, and spending a lot of money you didn't have to spend. These are some of the tips and tricks for traveling. It does make it easier to stay on the road. It does make it easier to work while actually traveling. It's not just for the person that used to say, I worked on the plane. You can work in the car if you can switch off driving duties with various family members, friends, whoever's with you. And it's how you can, cut out different expenses that are really just a waste of money once you stop and think about it for a minute or two. Our next video, we'll be talking about the final kind of, final is the wrong term. We'll be talking about our current way we've supercharged our trips and how we're going and taking all these things I've talked about before, putting it together for way more trips to way more places around the United States and possibly in the future around the world, while not running out of vacation time.